Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Investor Show. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the ending summer. Where I am, it's actually pretty warm and humid, but that's okay. We want it warm in the summertime. So today's episode is a little bit about location for our investments. I know, and you know if you're listening to the show regularly, that we are not really investing in very large metropolitan areas, mainly because they're typically more expensive or the deals don't really pencil out so that we can make at least, that's the goal, $200 to $300 positive cash flow at the beginning of a new deal. Research result, I would say, has been published recently that I want to bring to you. And what they looked at is which cities in the United States are the ones that have had the worst performance from a residential real estate investing perspective, so exactly in the space that we are in, when it comes to people paying the level of rent that is necessary to make the numbers work and so forth. So the locations are not sorted by like the worst to the least worst. It's just a list of locations. But the thing that I found, and the research didn't really go out to say this is conclusively the result, but to me it looked pretty obvious that the two main factors, and they are kind of related to each other, for these cities to be on the list is that their populations have been declining. And I would say part of the reason why their populations have been declining is because they lost jobs or oftentimes lost major employers. So I'm going to tell you the list of those 10 locations just so you know and have heard about it. And some of them might actually be somewhat surprising for you. So the first one on the list is Shreveport, Louisiana, for, like I said, the reasons declining population and jobs. Then the next one is Atlantic City. And that one actually surprised me a little bit, but I have to admit I only knew Atlantic City as a gambling location. And the researchers found that that is true, but what they missed, if you compare it to Las Vegas, and Atlantic City was never really at the same level as Las Vegas, but it was known for similar things, but they just missed continuously innovating and investing. And so the gambling is gone down and no really other replacing industries have moved in. So Atlantic City is on the list. Then another one that is maybe not that common is Stockton, California. That is basically inland from the San Francisco area. And it just has gone up and down and has kind of like a bad economy. They were very dependent on agriculture for a long time. Then they were able to attract some industry, but then they lost it again. So they are on the list. Then Springfield, Massachusetts, for the same reason, they have a relatively bad economy. Now, the next one is Youngstown, Ohio, and that might not really be considered a metropolitan area in that sense, but they are on the list. And you may or may not be aware that Youngstown, Ohio is one of the locations in that sense, older in the sense of traditional auto manufacturers like GM, Ford, and so forth. Youngstown, Ohio has a long history of jobs from major auto manufacturers, but several of their factories have been closed. And this is one of those situations when you say, well, population and jobs are going down. If a location is more or less dependent on one or two major employers, and almost everybody in the family is working in some way, shape, or form for that employer or for jobs related to it, right? Where you say, okay, mom and dad are working for, let's say, General Motors in Youngstown, and the kids, their summer jobs and stuff are in restaurants close to the factory where the people before, after, and during lunch break are going to have meals or pick up coffee or stuff like that. So when the factory closes, then those jobs obviously go away as well. So Youngstown is one of those cities. Then the next one, number 6 on the list, is Rochester, New York, also just generally for bad economic circumstances. Another one that falls in a similar category like Youngstown, Ohio, is Gary, Indiana. Another one of those cities that is not particularly large, but was and is very dependent on the automobile industry. There were ups and downs. Then there was a rumor that Ford would, for example, put a new factory there for electric vehicles, and then they decided to delay it. Then they decided not to do it at all, and so forth. So right now, it's in a really bad situation. The 8th city on the list is Flint, Michigan. And I think everybody in the United States at one point or another has heard about their water situation and the contamination and all this kind of catastrophe. But this one has also historically been a population with more than 30% below the poverty level. And then on top of that, this whole water situation. So it's just a really bad situation for that city. The next one, number 9, is probably a big surprise, and that's Ontario, California. And most people don't probably even know that there is an Ontario, California. It's in the Los Angeles area. And you would think, well, isn't California or the Los Angeles area a pretty good economic location? And the answer, big picture, is yes. But in Ontario, they basically became a city and started growing initially because a lot of the industry, the harbors and all the other industry in the LA area were very related to logistics, right? And Ontario is one of those logistics hubs, but that is pretty much the only industry. And what they really failed to do is to develop some sort of a core of the city and some kind of proper housing and so forth and so forth. So yes, you can go to work in Ontario, but nobody is really that elated to live there. And so that is obviously part of the reason why that's not a good investment property. And then number 10 is Rockford, Illinois. And that is one of the places that has pretty much all the things that contribute to not being a good place for investing combined in one location. So those are the 10 locations. I just wanted to make you aware of it. You can also look this up, the study itself, and it's quite extensive. But this connection between economic strengths, population, income potential, and then the infrastructure is a recurring thing. And this is a good lesson for us because whether it's a large city or a small city, a particular area in a particular state, those are important things to keep an eye on, especially if you're starting a new cluster of investment properties, to make sure that at least, you can never know if a large employer is leaving, but the more the area or the city is doing to diversify its industry, the better off you will be in the long term, because as you know, our investments are long-term investments. So if you are saying, well, I would like to do more investments, but I'm not really sure which locations meet those criteria so that they don't get ever on the list of the 10 worst cities in the country, then I would say the best thing is to just reach out, go to the website, idealinvestorshow.com, and you find a little green button there that says book a call. And it's a complimentary call to just get together, talk about what you're interested in, what you really want to do, how you want to build your wealth portfolio, and how I might be able to help you. I would really be happy to do that. And I love to get to know people. So even if we in the end decide, hey, it's maybe not the right thing, or for whatever reason it's not the right time, I would love to talk to you, get to know you, and see how we can help each other. So that's it for today. Be well and stay safe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.